Doug Mastriano appeared on Newsmax. And if you don't know, Doug Mastriano is running in Pennsylvania for governor against Josh Shapiro. So Doug Mastriano is this real wacky, super right-wing GOP candidate and is not doing well at all. But in this interview, it's just the quiet part is said out loud, and the interviewer, whose voice gives me the heebie-jeebies, you'll see what I mean in a second, says exactly what so much of the MAGA movement is focused on right now. And I hate to say, but it's true. It's planning about how they can successfully do in 2024 what they weren't able to do in 2020. You'll see what I mean in a second here. Take a look.
Doug, I want to understand why the national...
Or did I say 2022? What they weren't able to do in 2020. I may have said that correctly, but...
The Republican Party is AWOL when you're running. I mean, in Pennsylvania, Republicans know you are their hope. But the National Party is so dominated by the establishment that they just think you're too honest, too outspoken, and too independent for them. Are they getting over it?
The state party is fantastic, the state GOP, but some of the national ones, you readily said, I guess I'm not their kind of guy. I served in the Army my entire adult life, love my country. I don't play games. All I care about is the people and the Constitution that I actually fought to defend. And the sad thing, Dick, is that you have to hand it to the Democrats. They stick together. They see how important Pennsylvania is, and they poured about $30 million into this race. And, I'm being, kept strong by the people of the nation. Actually, people from across the entire United States have been helping my campaign out quite generously. And it doesn't, Pennsylvania.
People are always asking me, can Trump come back in 24? I wrote this book saying that he can. But he has to win the governorship in Pennsylvania. So I don't care if you live in Pennsylvania or on the moon. This is the guy you need to support, because he's the key to unlocking honest elections in the swing state. Thanks for coming on, Doug.
I get to appoint the Secretary of State, and the road to 2024 goes straight through Pennsylvania, as you wrote in your book. So thank you for having me on as well.
Doug Mastriano says it all right there. I get to appoint the Secretary of State, and the road goes through, in 2024, or to the presidency, through Pennsylvania. And in a way, he's correct, but he's saying, I know they're going to pretend he's saying that he can appoint a Secretary of State who's going to do an honest election. No, because we had that in 2020. We had an honest election. What they're actually saying is we get to we get to appoint a MAGA head, a super pro-Trump individual who won't care about the actual results, but will do everything possible to flip the election to Trump if he loses in the real vote count in Pennsylvania. And that is so scary. And we talked about previously in the show, the Georgia investigation going on into Trump. And one of the elements of that is the phone call he had with the Secretary of State saying, I need you to find me 11,780 votes. And so in Pennsylvania, maybe that scene plays out again, but it's someone on the other line of the phone who absolutely will find those 11,780 votes that don't exist, and will pretend like Trump actually won the election. And that is incredibly scary. And so in that moment, Doug Mastriano admits, listen, the reason why I should be governor is so that in 2024, I can steal the election for Trump. So that in 2024, regardless of the actual result, I can pretend and work to overturn, if they're not in our favor, and make it so that Trump or whatever right-wing person is there actually wins. And that is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And being said in the open, here's how we're going to try to overturn any future elections that we lose. And that's why you should vote for me. Now, as far as polling goes, it's looking good. I think people recognize him to be quite the goofball. That's the wrong term. Quite the dangerous candidate is more effective, because you can see the Democrat Josh Shapiro is 11.7 up in the average from Real Clear Politics, at least as far as polling goes. But it's still important that everyone votes. Wild, wild stuff going on in Pennsylvania.